Are we on that?
I've got them right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rewind with Rosa. It feels like it's been absolutely forever since I have spoken to any of you. Today we are hosting live. We're actually out of lockdown in central Victoria, so we can go visit people. And we're here at the wonderful Shiraz Republic with Brian and Spencer. And we'll talk to them in a moment. So let me just go through these slides. My husband is a Shiraz nut, so So we're partnering. As you know, part of the initiative of Rewind with Rosa is to partner with local businesses. Everyone's doing it a bit tough, particularly in the food and hospitality industry. And, oh, someone's raised their hand now. Can you see us okay? I'm not sure what's going on, but can you hear us? Am I unmuted? I'm unmuted. Okay, well, I'll continue. You might want to send an email, Sharon, if there's a problem. Anyway, food and wine have done it really difficult, had a really hard shot during the lockdown. So everyone who knows me well knows that I love a glass of red wine. So we developed this initiative where we partnered with local winemakers so we could do a little bit of promotion for them. I get to drink beautiful red wine once a month. And today, the Shiraz Republic also gave us a beautiful pizza. So they do pizza as well out here. And I have to say it's one of the better pizzas I've had. I ate pretty much all of that. So, and it's a way of us just sort of supporting each other through COVID and getting out of COVID. There's their logo. There's their website. So feel free to jump on and have a look. You can click if you like. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk to Spencer, and so we'll go out and share screen and we'll go and do live. I'm going to introduce Brian. Brian's the dad. Spencer's the son. And we're going to, I'll start asking a few questions and you can talk. So Brian, tell us the journey to come here to Shiraz Republic.
Well, like all good things, it started off accidentally as a hobby farm. And from there, back in just before 2000, we got the opportunity to get water on the place.
Oh, wow.
And so once you've got irrigation, a hobby farm becomes quite a large farm.
Yeah.
And so when we decided we'd plant some Shiraz, we planted 10 acres. A couple of years later, another 10 acres. And then we started making wine in 2005, 2006.
Fabulous.
Yeah. So it's sort of grown a bit as opportunity presents itself.
Yeah.
But I think we've always wanted it to be our place and something that, you know, we lived and enjoyed. And yeah, you're not playing a role, you're just being yourself, because I think if you play a role, you get worn out.
Yeah.
If you're just being yourself, well, you've got no choice.
Well, we were talking before we went live and I said, where do you sell your wines in Bendigo? And I love your answer, so share your answer with some other people.
Spencer can tell you where we sell them there, but mostly it's through the cellar door and online. We really made a conscious decision to stay small. None of us enjoy particularly being on the road repping. It's a hard gig. And it's about, if you can pay the bills and put a roof over your head and be happy, that's what we want to be.
And it's beautiful, beautiful wine barrels, beautiful venue. Now, Spencer, you can talk to us a little bit now about maybe some of your wines you've got here today.
Yeah, so I joined the business about 5 years ago. My background is in chemistry, so that lends itself quite naturally to winemaking. So I've increasingly, had more of a role in that since 2015. And so these are sort of my two latest releases that we're showing here today. So a Tempranillo, Tempranillo, which is a light-bodied Spanish red that we put under a new label called the Democracy, which is sort of, I guess, some of our experimentations in, if we're the Shiraz Republic, how do you fit in, wines other than Shiraz? And we've always sort of said that we're a democracy of wine. So, the Democracy Tempranillo is sort of, well, maybe, some other varieties can get a both in the Republic. And
the people have spoken.
The people have certainly spoken. Yeah, it's been selling really, really well. Really just, I think, Shiraz is obviously going to stay the go-to, but people are looking for something a little bit different.
I think when you're coming into the warmer months as well, you might feel like you're ready. You want something a little bit lighter.
Absolutely, and it's not as sort of full-bodied, which makes it a great food wine, I think. So like I'm sort of doing a Tempranillo now, and I'd probably drink that with food, but then towards the end of the night, your bigger bowl of Shiraz might come out.
What do you think Tempranillo goes with in terms of food?
I mean, it would be anything sort of salty. I think you know, Spanish wines, you're going to be having sort of tapas,
paella or something.
Paella, you know, I think it personally goes great with pizza, just like a Sangiovese might. It's still that similar, lighter bodied, really.
I love Sangiovese as well.
Yeah. But yeah, the sort of the American oak makes it a bit more juicy, a bit lighter, which goes well with food.
And
whereas
this is your other Shiraz, 2015. Okay. When my husband came home very excited and told me he'd found the Shiraz Republic on his journeys around Victoria, he told me something about the Renter Row. Is that what it's called? Do you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's sort of our, I guess, opening up of our winery to the punter. So Dad and I put that on a website back in 2011, and it's sort of gradually grown from sort of like a handful of people doing it every year through to, I think we had about 100 groups for the last couple of years. So it's a full hands-on experiential experience. Actually, some of these barrels here are owned by groups, so it's very, very honest and very simple. You buy your own batch at the start of the season, and then we take you out through, you know, hands-on making that wine. So starting off in the vineyard, and we're certainly, you know, looking forward to sort of February, March, and hopefully we can stay open and, you know, get everyone out there to pick the grapes,
pick their own, crush them. We've got a whole lot of special small-scale equipment that you aren't going to lose fingers and things doing it.
Oh, okay.
So kids get in. Everyone wants to get in the barrel and stomp it with their feet.
Well, can I tell you, I'm Italian background, and I grew up stomping grapes in our farm.
No, it's
and
a definite,
fabulous memories.
It's a definite, that stage in particular, it's a real bucket list experience, normally shared with the whole family. So it's not uncommon to sort of see 3 to 10 people jumping in this bucket and stomping it. And that's sort of really the fun party that goes on during harvest, but then you actually do learn a lot through the rest of the stages. So coming back and using a basket press, which people may have heard of, to sort of separate the skins from the wine and extract a bit of flavour. We then go adding oak or putting the wine into barrel throughout the middle of the year, and you're sort of opening up at the right time now for a lot of fun, which is when people are actually designing their own wine labels, and they'll come up, taste it, bottle it, and take their batch home with them, share it around, and you know, have something to be proud of for, you know, a few years to come.
So people make sort of 25 litres, which is about 3 dozen bottles, 6 dozen more a barrel, and depending on how many people they've got in the mix. And
great idea.
Yeah, so there's a few workplaces and that especially sort of like using the barrel as a bit of a PR exercise, or, you know, a PD exercise. You sort of get to come together, you know, 4 times a year, and obviously get out and have something to do as well, and learn something.
And if people do want to buy your wine in town, is there any outlets that stock your wine currently?
In Bendigo, we're stocked at the Hop Supply Co. But we do free local delivery to about 80 kilometres around us. So something sort of, you know, probably Shepparton through to Bendigo or Chuka will deliver ourselves. Otherwise, we put it in the post.
And you're open at the moment?
We are open. We're open Friday to Monday at the moment, but we are accepting midweek guests. Just typically ask people to call ahead. And that's for beer, wine, pizza. And we've got accommodation now on site as well.
I saw the accommodation sign, so that's nice as well.
Yes, so we've got 4 one-bedroom units and 2 two-bedroom units on site, all looking out at the vineyard. So you know, it's a good opportunity for groups at the moment, and that seems to be a popular one. So they're meeting up together here and having a weekend out now that we can, which is
now that we can. For how long, touch wood?
Yeah.
Well, I better talk about some law cases, I suppose.
Absolutely.
So I might let you guys go off and stomp some grapes or do something like that.
Yeah, well, actually, unfortunately, it's not that glamorous at this time of the year. It's mostly cleaning, but it does need to be done. So thank you, Rosa.
No worries. We'll see at the end of the presentation. If you wanted to help me get back to the presentation. So stop share. Yeah, there we go. Share screen. Okay, I think I'm going to go back one. No, go forward. No? Okay. I might do it from here. I might just move the camera. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about a few cases that I found really interesting. I was looking at things during the week. I might just bring them a bit closer. One One is this Roderick and Washington Sol case about written contracts, because I didn't know about this case. I came across it and found it really, really interesting. Then there's this one about BHP, which is again very, very interesting. There's been some changes to the OH&S regime that again I learned about this week, and I'm happy to share with you. And we'll do a quick refresh on workplace manslaughter, just something nice and positive to end the week on. Back to the case that I mentioned. Let me just move myself away. If an employee changes roles during their employment, this is a situation where an employee changed roles during their employment, but they didn't have a new contract. And this came back to bite the employer. So if an employee changes roles, but they don't sign a new contract, it might be found that the original contract is no longer binding, and the new contract isn't binding either. So if this is the case, then the employment relationship at the time of termination would be governed by a new contract, even if it's not in writing. So it's something else, another contract comes into force. This is what happened in this case. I'll give you the facts of it. Well, firstly, this has implications for notice. If there's no notice stated in the new contract and the old contract doesn't apply, reasonable notice might apply. So this employee started in 2006 as a CFO. She had a very brief written contract, very basic contract. In 2014, she was made the finance director and a new draft contract provided, but she didn't sign it. It had a 3-month notice period. This was a much more senior position. She and the CEO were the two executives in the business. In 2018, she was dismissed with immediate effect of 3 months' notice in lieu. The employer said the new contract applied, but the New South Wales Supreme Court disagreed. They said that the original contract was really short and brief. The new contract, even though she hadn't signed it, was more detailed because it was a much more senior position. As it was a much more senior position, she and the CEO were the only executive directors. The remuneration in her new role was almost double. The employer told the employee there would be a new contract when she took on the new role, and she agreed to this. The court ruled the parties intended that the employee's employment be governed by the new contract, and the new one and the old one no longer applied. Sorry, it should be the old one no longer applied. Because the notice was not in the new contract, this is not the one that she didn't sign, this is a new contract that was really, there was no contract, so it was just a contract that came into existence by her working. They determined that she was entitled to what is called reasonable notice. So she didn't get 12 months notice, she didn't get 3 months notice, she got almost 12 months notice and was awarded $1 million. I think it's quite an astounding decision, or it's astounding news for me, because I've always been of the view that if you can confirm a contract by performing it, but the court didn't find that. They found that the 3 months notice period didn't apply, and as it didn't apply, given the seniority of her role, she was entitled to reasonable notice. And once again, given the seniority of her role, that reasonable notice was 12 months. So get your contract signed. And when people change positions, make sure you give them a new contract, make sure you get them signed, and we can talk a little bit about that later if you want to. If people have got questions, I did say there was one question, but it seems to have gone. But if people have got questions, you can put them in the Q&A and we can try and get to them. This is another really interesting case that I saw on Workplace Express the other day, and I think it's really interesting because I think the intentions of BHP were good intentions, but now they're finding themselves part of a class action in Sydney. So BHP wanted to protect workers who were at high risk of COVID. They implemented a nationwide program that required all mine workers who were part of a group they called the COVID-19 health risk group to stay home from early May. This group, however, included Indigenous workers in their 50s because they were deemed to be at high risk, and non-Indigenous over 65. What BHP did, so that these people were engaged through Chandler McLeod, a recruitment agency, or a personnel agency that places people. And BHP gave Chandler McLeod, I think it was $6 million, and told them to pay people while they were at home. The people who were stood down, who were direct employees of BHP, were paid by BHP, but a number of the people who were stood down were casual workers, and apparently the money ran out. So for 3 months, these casual workers had no income at all and had been stood down. So the union, the CFMEU, accused BHP and Chandler McLeod of breaching discrimination provisions of the Fair Work Act because workers suffered loss because of a decision they had made based on workers' race, their age, and their physical disability. Again, it sort of makes you sort of want to, you know, I don't know, shake your head, because they were clearly trying to protect their workers, but they didn't go about it the right way, or they didn't give enough money, or there was not enough communication between them and Chandler McLeod to make sure the money hadn't run out. So now the first court date is the 9th of October in Sydney, so watch this space. The next thing I want to talk about briefly is getting back to work, because we are getting back to work in Victoria slowly. Melbourne's still not, but in Victoria, in regional Victoria, we are. And employers may want to or may need to institute different sorts of OH&S regimes and health policies, such as temperature checks. I know when I drop my little girls off at school, they get temperature checks every morning, and mandatory doctor clearances. As we know, or we mostly know, the Fair Work Act gives way. You know, it's superseded by state OH&S laws, and these laws oblige an employer to take reasonable care of its employees, and it obliges employees to cooperate with their employers. It's going to be controversial as to how far OH&S law can be relied upon to impose burdens on employees' individual privacy. So you have to wonder, how far can an employer push an employee in relation to COVID tests or test results or all those sorts of things before it becomes crossing the line? As is always the case in law, in reasonableness will be the touchstone. So a court will consider, was the request reasonable in all the circumstances? But it's just going to be tricky. Next week, or the next time we get together, I'm going to talk about redundancies. It's just been my bugbear during COVID, how to get people back to work. And when we get back to work, we're not going to be operating at full strength, and how to protect yourself from unfair dismissal claims. And I've just mentioned that case again, careful not to discriminate against people with good intentions even. BHP's desire to protect Indigenous and older workers certainly backfired on them. As some of you will know, and I didn't know this, I'll be honest about that, and I learned today, because OH&S or work covers sort of a more side business for me, but WorkSafe Victoria introduced new COVID-19 regulations effective from the 28th of July. They're temporary, they'll be in place for 12 months. And these extend the operation of the duties on to notify WorkSafe about certain things. So I'll go through them. An employer becomes aware, they must notify WorkSafe if they become aware that an employee has received a confirmed diagnosis and has attended the workplace. A self-employed person has received a confirmed diagnosis and has attended the workplace. And the penalties are high. They're nearly 40,000 for individuals and nearly 200,000 for a body corporate. So they're taking it extremely seriously and saying that COVID-19 is a significant health and safety risk to your employees. As I said, the regulations are temporary and they'll expire in 12 months, pending review. If there's a need for them to continue, they'll continue. But you can see more information on WorkSafe's website. Really, as I've said, COVID-19 is a workplace safety risk. There's, in Victoria, the state government has made several changes to the Act, as I've mentioned, to reinforce the duty. And regulators consistently and repeatedly reiterate that it's an employer's duty to minimise the risk of COVID-19 infections in the workplace. 30 companies have been investigated by WorkSafe for COVID breaches, And Victorian bosses could be jailed for 20 years and hit with a $16 million fine if their staff die after becoming infected with coronavirus at work. For that to happen, a boss must have been proven to have failed in their duty of care. They could also be forced to pay that money in fines for their negligence, and the punishment comes as new industrial manslaughter laws are also introduced. So they're getting very serious about our health and safety. So let's have a look at some of the contraventions and the penalties. So it's, the contraventions of the OH&S Act, failure to meet OH&S duties can be prosecuted criminally and carry penalties, as well as under the Act, they can have criminal prosecutions. 1.5 to 3 million, 3.2 million for a body corporate, nearly 300,000 for a natural person, and as I said, 16 million or 25 years for workplace manslaughter. It's changing every day, and that's part of the reason that I started to do Rewind with Rosa, was because even me, when my life is employment law, found it really difficult to keep up. So we recommend that you just keep abreast yourself. It's hard, but these websites are fabulous. WorkSafe Victoria, Safe Work Australia, and the Victorian DHS has got fabulous information. I haven't talked about COVID safe plans. I mean, we haven't come out of stage 4 lockdowns, but some businesses are required to have COVID safe plans and control measures, etc. But that's all outlined on these websites. Something that's interesting is WorkSafe is having a OC Health and Safety Month. So there's lots of seminars, webinars, and a whole lot of things to participate in. There's a whole list of things listed there. What does an inspector look like? I don't know that they all look for. Managing the risk, healthcare, and their perspective on it. I think I put the website on there, but you can find their website. I'll talk briefly about the elements of workplace manslaughter. So the first question is, do you owe a duty of another person under the Act? So that's to another person. That is a duty to ensure a safe work environment, Section 21, which has been expanded with these new regulations. Did you engage in conduct? So an act or omission to perform an act. Did the conduct constitute a breach of the applicable duty? Was it negligent? And then did the conduct cause the death of the other person? Must significantly contribute to the cause of death. So as we all know, the offence from industrial manslaughter began in 1st of July 2020. It's again an amendment to the OH&S Act. If a person owes, as I've said, if a person owes a duty under the Act and the person engages in conduct and the conduct causes the victim's death and the conduct is negligent, so imprisonment for up to 25 years or a fine of 16 million, 100,000 penalty points. My recommendation, as I always say in these seminars, is when in doubt, get legal advice. Get it early, get it often, because some early legal advice can certainly save you a lot of grief down the track. Thank you for your attention. You can find us, you can find me at my website. You can contact me by email. And I have a few slides up front. I don't quite know where they went. Let me see if they're here. Here we go. Just a little bit of introduction, and then Spencer and Brian are going to come back and give you a special offer if you go onto their website. I usually introduce myself, but most of you know who I am now. So I've worked in this space for a long time. People say I've got good skin, so I'm older than I look. Employment law is my passion. I live and breathe it every day. I do everything in employment, from hiring to firing and everything in between. I can support you through any sort of unfair dismissal, adverse action, discrimination. I can provide you with contracts. Something going on up here. Just a second. There's 2 in the chat, I think. Excuse me. I can advise you on anything to do with employment. I love working with my businesses in regional Victoria. I used to work for a big national law firm and an insurance law firm. And while that was fun, I actually really love being at the coalface with my businesses. So here's a couple, and my employees. So here's someone in my local accountant, the local accountant in Bendigo. And this is my favourite one. It's actually a much longer quote, but I love this. It makes me feel like it's worthwhile what I do. So I have no doubt that Rosa's professional advice and assistance, so I'd still be battling for my basic rights as an employee. She was worth every penny, and I'd highly recommend her to anyone needing workplace relations advice. So that's me. I think Brian's coming back. Is Spencer coming back? And then we're finished. So I'll stop the share. And we'll go back. If I can round them up. I think he's getting another glass of wine. Always a good thing to do at a winery. And we've got some beer I think we're going to have, actually.
Well, actually, that's a Tinto. This is our Tinto, our Shiraz Spritz.
Oh, Shiraz Spritz.
So great with the summer hot weather coming up. It's about beer strength, but it's Shiraz wine.
Oh, really?
And lemonade and a bit of a sangria or Tinto di Verano, which is the Spanish. So I haven't tasted it. It's a lovely drink, and even
See how I love my job.
even our rusted on beer drinkers love to
That's nice.
tuck into this. Yeah, it's very.
Because I've tried a sparkling, Bordello or sparkling. And I haven't liked it. I haven't liked it at all. That's nice.
Yeah. So it's a good, when you get sick of beer and whatever else, it's good. Also, one of the things we have started up over the last 3 years, and Spencer will be here back to talk far more authoritative than I am. We started with a little nano brewery, and we've just finished upgrading it to I suppose a microbrewery.
What's a nano brewery?
Nano's too small to worry about.
Oh, okay.
It was about 160 litres in the vats at the time, and then we've now got fermenters of 600 and 1500 litre. So that's changed the dimensions. It's probably quadrupled our output.
Oh, okay.
But and of course,
beer, is it?
that's beer. Part of the pivot, of course, in over these times has been that we had a kegging strategy where we were getting kegs into bars and pubs around the place.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, when they closed with COVID, you need to put them in cans.
Oh.
So then we.
I like your design.
Yeah, one of my other sons is a graphic designer.
Oh, okay.
And done his PhD on distorting fonts.
Oh.
So there's a font there in there, and so Barry, my other son, has designed a whole suite of things, and we've got about 6 or 8 different types of beer in those, and that's been a terrific little add-on. So because you get people coming to the brewery who the winery who aren't into wine, and they've got partners or don't give any of events and things like that.
You do cider as well, don't you?
We do cider as well, and if we've got events, we even stock Carlton and God forbid, Great Northern. But I mean, it's about people coming and enjoying themselves with friends, and so that's been part of the deal.
Spencer's gone missing, and actually he's obviously stopping some grapes. Before he did leave, he said to me, if you go onto the website, here it is. I don't know if you can read that back. Is that back to front or no? 10% off if you put in the promo code Rewind with Rosa.
Okay.
And you can get 10% off any wine you select and free shipping. So support a local business. It's a lovely family-run business with beautiful Shiraz and very nice people and fabulous pizza. And I've got a few questions I might try and quickly turn to. If I don't get to them, let me have a look. Oh, yes, all good. Thanks, Rosie. Very helpful insights. That might help me. Good. I've got a question with a comment. In yesterday's training session, a Fair Work representative mentioned that unfair dismissal claims have increased by staggering 40%. Yeah, that's absolutely true. They have gone through the roof, unfair dismissals, and I've been very busy with unfair dismissals. And I think people generally are a little bit more litigious because I think everyone's struggling with money, and they see the employer and they think, let's give it a go, try and get some money. So I've had some outrageous ambit claims for settlement that, so that's true. If no one's got any other questions, cheers. I'm happy here for a little bit longer.
I could give you a question.
Yeah.
One of the things we say is there's a fine line between a succession plan and a coup. Can you?
I might end on that note.
Spencer kind of often pushes me out, so that it's about timing and choice, I think.
That's right.
All about choice and timing. So thank you.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you for being our host tonight. See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.